What if your school was a cell? Who would be the transport system, the powerhouse, the cleanup crew? Today we will explore the organelles of a cell like never before and also get a sneak peek into how a cell divides to form new life. Welcome back to Genius Blossom, and this is part 3 of chapter 5, the fundamental unit of life from class 9 CBSE Science. In this video, we are diving into the fascinating world inside the cell, learning about endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, lysosomes, mitochondria, plastids, vacuoles, and also a simple overview of cell division. We have already learned that the cell is surrounded by a thin covering called the cell membrane or plasma membrane, and this membrane it plays a very important role. That is, it controls what enters and what exits the cell. That is, you can think of the cell membrane like a door lock. Just like a lock controls who can go in and out of the room, the cell membrane it also controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell. And inside this membrane you can see, or the cell contains a jelly like semi transparent fluid, and within this fluid you can see many structures, small structures floating or embedded like little parts inside a machine. And this jelly like fluid, it is called the cytoplasm. That is, inside the plasma membrane the cell contains the cytoplasm. Then what is inside the cytoplasm, or what is in the cytoplasm? The cytoplasm it holds that the small structures, and it helps in their movement and function. And these small structures that are found inside the cytoplasm, they are called the cell organelles. So cell organelles are the small structures that are found inside the cytoplasm, and this each organelle it has a special function or special job to do, like parts of a machine. And we have already learned about one important organelle, the nucleus. The nucleus it is usually found in the central part of the cell, and it acts as a controlling center of the cell, and we already studied it. That is, nucleus it is like the brain of the cell. That is, just like the brain controls all the we know that the brain controls all the activities or all the actions of our body. Like that, the nucleus it also controls the functions of the cell. Or you can think of the nucleus like the manager of a factory. Just like the manager controls and he guides the working of a factory, the nucleus also controls the activities of the cell. Then large and complex cells, that is the cells from humans, animals, plants, etc. They are large and complex cells. They need to carry out many chemical activities to function properly. And to keep these activities organized and separated, the cells they have small membrane bound structures inside them. And those small membrane bound structures inside the cell or inside the cytoplasm, or these tiny structures, they are called the cell organelles. Now can you define cell organelle, or what are cell organelles, or how can you define cell organelle? Cell organelles, they are small specialized structures within a cell that are enclosed by membranes and perform specific functions necessary for the cell survival and proper functioning. Cell organelles are small specialized structures within a cell that are enclosed by membranes and perform specific functions necessary for the cell survival and proper functioning. And this feature of having membrane bound organelles, not the point, membrane bound organelles is one of the key characteristics or key feature of eukaryotic cells, that is cells with a definite nucleus or well defined nucleus. And it distinguishes eukaryotic cells from prokaryotic cells. That is, the presence of membrane bound organelles distinguishes eukaryotic cells from prokaryotic cells like bacteria, and which do not have membrane bound organelles. And we have already learned about one such organelle, the nucleus, and now we will learn about the other important cell organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, and plastids. Plastids, it is a cell organelle which is found only in plant cells. You cannot see plastids in animal cells. It is present only in plant cells. And these organelles are very important because they carry out specific and essential functions, or they carry out crucial functions that help the cell stay alive and work efficiently. Now let us learn about the cell organelle endoplasmic reticulum. To understand the endoplasmic reticulum easily, you can compare it to a system of roads or hallways inside a school or a factory. Just like the roads connect different buildings and allow vehicles to carry things from one place to another, the endoplasmic reticulum, it forms passages inside the cell for what? For transporting materials from one region to another, or to transport materials from one part to another. So we can say the endoplasmic reticulum, it acts like the transport system of the cell. So which organelle acts as the transport system of the cell? Endoplasmic reticulum. And now let us talk about its structure and position. It is usually found close to the nucleus, that is almost like it is attached to the nucleus, and it appears like a network of tubes and sheets spreading throughout the cytoplasm. And this network, it forms a connected system which allows the movement of substances from one region of the cell to another. That is, just like the pipes carry water or wires carry electricity through a building, the endoplasmic reticulum, it carries proteins and other substances through the cell. Based on the presence or absence of the cell organelle ribosome, this endoplasmic reticulum, they are classified into two types. That is, first one is rough endoplasmic reticulum and the second one is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. As the name suggests, in rough endoplasmic reticulum, its surface appears, surface of the membrane appears rough or bumpy. Why its surface appears rough? Because it has tiny ribosomes attached to its surface, and that presence of ribosomes, it makes it look rough under a microscope. And what is the main function of this rough endoplasmic reticulum? You know that ribosomes are the cell organelles responsible for the production of protein synthesis. So the main function of endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, is to help in protein synthesis. That is, with the help of ribosomes, it helps in the protein synthesis. That is, it helps to make proteins, or it helps in the synthesis of protein. And the second one is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. As the name suggests, its surface appears smooth because it lacks ribosomes, or no ribosomes are present on it. And its main functions are to make fats or lipid molecules, and also it helps in the detoxification process, that is removing harmful substances from the cell. So both types of endoplasmic reticulum, they are very important, and they not only carry materials around the cell but also help in building proteins and lipids, and these proteins or lipids, they are needed for the cell's growth and repair. And another important function of the endoplasmic reticulum is something called membrane biogenesis. And let us first understand the word biogenesis. The word biogenesis means formation or creation of life structures. Genesis means formation or creation. Bio means life. So biogenesis means formation or creation of life structures, and here we are talking about the formation of the cell membrane, and hence the name membrane biogenesis. And during cell division, when a new cell is formed, it needs a new cell membrane, and for this the endoplasmic reticulum supplies proteins and lipids. Lipids are fat molecules, and they are the main building materials of the cell membrane. That is the process where proteins and lipids from the endoplasmic reticulum are used to build or repair the cell membrane. It is called the membrane biogenesis. So we can say membrane biogenesis, it is the process by which cell forms or repairs its membrane using proteins and lipids mainly supplied by the endoplasmic reticulum. And this is one more reason why endoplasmic reticulum is such an important organelle. It not only transports materials but also helps in building parts of the cell itself. And let us quickly recap the important points about the endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum, it is like the transport system of the cell. That is just like the roads or highways that help move things from one place to another. Endoplasmic reticulum, it also transport materials from one part of the cell to other part. And it is a network of tubes and sheets spread throughout the cytoplasm. And it is usually found surrounding or close to the nucleus, and there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum, and They are rough endoplasmic reticulum. In rough endoplasmic reticulum, it has ribosomes and it helps in protein synthesis. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum, no ribosomes there, but it helps in the lipid or fat synthesis, and also it helps detoxification in the liver cells of vertebrates. And endoplasmic reticulum also plays a key role in membrane biogenesis, that is, it provides proteins and lipids to form or repair the cell membrane. Okay, now let us learn about another very important part of the cell or very important cell organelle, that is the Golgi apparatus. Do you know what is the Golgi apparatus? Golgi apparatus, it is also known as the Golgi complex or Golgi body. It was discovered by the Italian scientist Camillo Golgi, and hence the name, hence that organelle got the name Golgi apparatus or Golgi complex or Golgi body. And this Camillo Golgi, he also invented the famous black reaction. Black reaction, it is a special technique that uses silver stain to observe nerve cells clearly under a microscope. And the Golgi apparatus is made up of several membrane-bound flattened sacs or vesicles called cisternae, and these sacs are stacked one above the other, just like a pile of flat containers. Then what is a stack? A stack, it is a group of similar items placed in layers, like a stack of tiffin boxes in your school bag or a pile of plates in the kitchen. That is stack. And these vesicles in the Golgi complex, or the flattened sacs in the Golgi complex, they help in processing, packaging and transporting substances inside the cell. And also the Golgi vesicles, they are connected to the membranes of the endoplasmic reticulum, and together they form the part of the cell's internal transport system. Now, to understand the functioning of the Golgi apparatus better, let us compare it with something familiar, a multi-container tiffin box. In a home, the food is prepared in the kitchen, and this is like the endoplasmic reticulum, where proteins are and lipids are made. That is, food is prepared in the kitchen, like that proteins and lipids are prepared in the endoplasmic reticulum. Then the food is then placed into separate compartments of the tiffin box, and this is like the Golgi vesicles, where materials are sorted and stored. And before closing the tiffin, the food might be adjusted or garnished, and this is the Golgi modifying the substances. And finally, the tiffin is closed and take to the school or work, just like Golgi packages and delivers materials to different parts of the cell. So we can say endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is like the kitchen, and the Golgi apparatus is like the multi-container tiffin box, neat, organized and ready to serve. Then what are the functions of Golgi apparatus? The Golgi apparatus performs three main functions after receiving the materials from endoplasmic reticulum, or after receiving the materials, that is proteins and lipids, from endoplasmic reticulum. It performs three main functions, that is, it modifies the proteins and lipids received from the endoplasmic reticulum, packages them into vesicles and dispatches them to their correct destinations inside or outside the cell. Then what is the main job of the Golgi apparatus? That is to store, modify, pack and deliver important materials in the cell. That is the main function of Golgi apparatus. Then apart from this main function, it also performs certain other functions also. Then what are the other functions of the Golgi apparatus? In addition to this, the Golgi also converts simple sugars into complex sugars, and it also helps in the formation of lysosomes. What are lysosomes? Lysosomes are small organelles that clean up waste in the cell, and they are like the cell's cleaning staff. So let us quickly recap who discovered Golgi bodies. Camillo Golgi. And what is the structure of Golgi bodies? That is, it is a stack of flattened vesicles called a cisternae. Then it is connected to which organ, which cell organelle? Golgi bodies is connected to endoplasmic reticulum. And what are the main functions of Golgi bodies after receiving proteins and lipids from endoplasmic reticulum? They store it, modify it, pack and dispatch it. Then what are the other roles of Golgi complex? It forms lysosomes, it converts simple sugars into complex sugars. And so remember, the Golgi apparatus, it is like a multi-container tiffin box inside your cell. That is, it stores, adjusts, packs and sends materials to the right place at the right time. Let us now look at a very important organelle, the lysosomes. Lysosomes, they are tiny membrane-bound sacs filled with powerful digestive enzymes. And you can think of them as the cleaning staff for the waste disposal system of the cell. That is, the lysosomes, they act as the waste disposal system of the or cleaning staff of the cell. And just like how a vacuum cleaner picks up dust and waste from your room, lysosomes, they clean up the cell by removing unwanted foreign substances. And that is lysosomes, they digest foreign invaders like bacteria, viruses, etc., and also recycle damaged organelles, that is keeping the cell healthy and working smoothly. For example, if a bacteria enters the cell, the lysosome, it captures it and digests it like a warrior defeating an enemy. And the lysosomes do all these things with the help of the digestive enzymes present inside them. And these enzymes inside the lysosomes, they are made by the cell organelle endoplasmic reticulum. The digestive enzymes inside the lysosomes are given by whom? The endoplasmic reticulum. And these enzymes, they break down complex substances into simpler ones so they can be reused or thrown away. Sometimes when the cell is badly damaged or not working, the lysosomes, they burst and their enzymes digest the entire cell. That is why they are also called the suicidal bags of the cell. That is, when the cell is not in a working condition, when the cell is in a damaged condition, the lysosome, it digests the entire cell using the digestive enzymes in it. So it is called the suicidal bags of the cell. And now let us quickly recap the important points of the lysosomes. They are the waste disposal system. They act as the waste disposal system and recyclers. And the enzymes inside it is made from the endoplasmic reticulum, and their main function is to break down bacteria, virus, old organelles and waste, and they can destroy the whole cell if needed. And they are also known as the suicide bags of the cell. Now get ready to meet one of the most fascinating and shocking organelles of the cell, the mitochondria. Is this tiny structure, it holds the power to run the entire cell just like a hidden generator inside a city. Mitochondria are called the powerhouses of the cell because they release energy needed for all life activities. And they have two membranes. The outer membrane is porous. Porous means it has some openings. The outer membrane of the mitochondria is porous, allowing materials to pass in and out. And the inner membrane, it is folded into cristae, increasing surface area for energy production. The foldings on the inner membrane, it is called crista or cristae. These foldings or cristae are the places where important chemical reactions happen to produce ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate and it is the energy currency of the cell. That is just like money is used to buy things. Cells use ATP to buy energy for building new molecules or performing mechanical work, etc. Do you know what makes mitochondria special? They have their own DNA and ribosomes. This means that they can make some of their own proteins. That is why they are called as semi-autonomous organelles. That is, they are not fully dependent on the nucleus for their proteins. They can make some of their proteins. So, they are known as semi-autonomous organelles. Then just like a solar power bank stores energy and charges your devices later, mitochondria, it stores energy in ATP to fuel cells. Now let us recap the important points of mitochondria. It is known as the powerhouse of the cell and they have two membranes. The outer membrane is porous and the inner membrane, it is deeply folded or it has many foldings on it. And known as these foldings are called cristae, singular form crista. And these foldings, it increase surface area for the ATP production, and ATP, it is adenosine triphosphate, and ATP is known as, or this adenosine triphosphate, it is known as the energy currency of the cell. So remember, the powerhouse of the cell is mitochondria and the energy currency of the cell is ATP or adenosine triphosphate, and they provide energy for chemical activities and mechanical work, and they have their own DNA and ribosomes and they can make some of their proteins. So they are called as semi-autonomous organelles. Now let us talk about plastids. Plastids, they are found only in plant cells. We cannot see plastids in the animal cells. They are present only in plant cells, and there are two main types of plastids, that is colored plastids and colorless plastids. The colored plastids are called chromoplasts and the colorless plastids are called leucoplasts. These colorless plastids, they are mainly for storing starch, oils, proteins, etc. And among the colored plastids or the chromoplasts, the most important one is the chloroplast. Do you know why the leaves of the plants, they are green in color? Because they contain the green pigment, and that green pigment gives the leaves green color, and the name of that green pigment is chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll is situated in the plastid chloroplast. So among the chromoplast, the most important is the chloroplast because it has the green pigment chlorophyll, and this chlorophyll, it has a main function, that is it helps the plants to do photosynthesis, that is making their own food using sunlight. Now let us look inside the chloroplast, and what can you see inside the chloroplast? In the interior portion of the chloroplast, you can see a fluid matrix called stroma, and in the stroma several structures are floating, and that structures, they are like a membrane layers, and so many membrane layers are placed one above the other like the stacks of the coins, and each stack is called a granum, and each coin like structure or each membrane layer, it is called a thylakoid, and these thylakoids, it help the chloroplast to trap more sunlight for making food in the plant. So which cell organelle is responsible for doing photosynthesis in plants? It is the green pigment chlorophyll bearing plastid chloroplast. Chloroplast is responsible for doing photosynthesis in plants, and just like mitochondria, chloroplasts, they have their own DNA and ribosomes, and that is they can make some of their proteins. They can also make some of their proteins, and so they are also known as the semi-autonomous organelles like mitochondria. And the important points about the chloroplast are chloroplast, they are a type of plastid found only in plant cells, and they contain the green pigment chlorophyll needed for photosynthesis, and chloroplasts are also contain yellow and orange pigments in very small amounts along with the chlorophyll, and these pigments, they become visible when chlorophyll fades, and inside the chloroplast they have thylakoids, and thylakoids are stacked one above the other to form grana, and this structure grana, so many granas, they are floating in a fluid matrix called a stroma. Now let us study the storage bags of the cell, that is the vacuoles. Vacuoles, they are like storage sacs inside the cells, and in plant cells, vacuoles, they are very large and they filled with a fluid called cell sap, and this presence of cell sap, it helps the cell stay firm and upright, and they also store in the cell sap materials like sugars, amino acids, proteins, etc. are stored, and all these things are very important for the plant. And in animal cells, vacuoles, they are smaller, not big as in plant cells, they are smaller, but still they store useful substances in it. And in unicellular organisms like amoeba, food vacuoles are present, and these food vacuoles, they store and digest food, and some unicellular organisms, they have contractile vacuoles. Contractile vacuoles, they help to remove extra water and waste from the cells because they have only one cell, and all the processes of their body, it is to be carried out by that single cell with different organelles, and this contractile vacuole, it is for the excretion purpose in the unicellular organisms. And let us quickly recap the important points of vacuoles. Vacuoles are storage sacs for solid or liquid materials. Large vacuole in plant cells, they filled with the cell sap, and it gives turgidity and rigidity, and it stores sugars, amino acids, proteins in plant cells. Small vacuoles in animal cells, but they still useful for storage. In amoeba, food vacuoles store and digest food, and in some unicellular organisms, contractile vacuoles remove extra water and waste. So now we studied about the important cell organelles like nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, plastids, vacuoles, etc. and each cell gains its structure and ability to function because of the specific organization of its membranes and organelles. And this organized structure, it allows the cell to carry out important life processes such as respiration, nutrition, excretion, formation of new proteins, reproduction, etc. That is why the cell is called the fundamental structural unit of living organisms, and it is also the basic functional unit of life, since all life processes begin at the cellular level. Do you know why are new cells formed? To help the organism grow, to replace old, dead or injured cells, or to form gametes for reproduction. And the process by which new cells are formed is called cell division. And cell division, it is of two main types. First one is mitosis. Mitosis, it is the cell division meant for growth and repair. Cell division mainly for growth and repair, that is mitosis. Here one cell divides into two identical daughter cells. Not that point, one mother cell, it divides into two identical daughter cells, and both the mother cell and daughter cells, they have the same number of chromosomes, and mitosis helps in growth and repair of the tissues. For example, healing a wound or growing taller, both happens due to mitosis. And the second type of division is meiosis, and it is the cell division for reproduction, that is, it happens in reproductive cells. Here one cell divides into four new cells or four daughter cells, and each new cell has half the number of chromosomes. But in mitosis, you studied that one mother cell divides into two daughter cells, and both mother and daughter cells, they carry the same number of chromosomes, and mother and daughter cells, they are identical also. But in meiosis, it takes place only in reproductive cells. Here one mother cell divides into four new cells, and they are not identical, and each new cell has half the number of chromosomes. Example, meiosis forms sperms in males and egg in females, and these join during fertilization to form zygote and the baby. So new cells are formed for growth, repair of old, dead or injured cells, then formation of gametes for reproduction, and the process of making new cells is called a cell division. Two main types of cell division, mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis, it occurs in body cells or vegetative cells. Here one cell divides into two identical daughter cells and chromosome number same as the mother cell, and it helps in growth and tissue repair. And meiosis, it occurs in reproductive cells, that is, here one cell, it becomes four new cells, and each cell has half the number of chromosomes of the mother cell, and here forms gametes, that is sperm and egg, and important for sexual reproduction. And in meiosis, chromosome number is reduced to half, so that after fertilization the zygote has the correct total number of chromosomes. In this part, we explored the important cell organelles and the process of cell division, which helps cells function, grow and reproduce. The important key points and question answers from this section, it will be given in the next part, so don't miss it. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment your doubts or feedback, share with your friends, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified when the next part is uploaded. Thank you for watching.